Hey y'all, in today's video I'm going to show you how to use the draggable and drop zone options when you are making a deck on boom cards. This is a deck that I made last year called Identifying Angles, and I'm going to go ahead and preview it so you can see what this feature of the drag and drop does. On each of these slides, the students are dragging the dots to label the angle. So I've created a dot to represent acute angles, a dot to represent right angles, and a dot to represent obtuse angles. So the students would take these dots and they would drag them. So if I look here, this is an obtuse angle. This is also an obtuse angle, but I'm going to drag the right angle symbol to show you how it will mark it wrong. These both down here are acute angles, so I'm going to go ahead and drag the acute angle dot down there. And then we're going to hit submit. It will show that these three are correct, but this one's not. It'll actually take that dot and put it back, and then the student can try again and then submit to get to the next card. So that's what we're going to go over today, is how I created those dots and how I kind of programmed them to where they're supposed to go for the correct answer. So over here, when you're in your deck that you're working on, I'm going to go ahead and just create a blank card in here to show you from the beginning how I created each card. So on this first card, I did a trapezoid. What I did was I just went to Google and I searched trapezoid. I went over to images. Here's a trapezoid right here, so I grabbed this picture. You can right click, copy. Then I came over here and I just put Control V to paste it. There's my trapezoid, and I'm going to drag it to whatever size I want it, and I'm going to move it down here. Then if I go back up to this card here, you'll see that I used different colored circles. Now on here, on the boom cards deck creator program, there's not a place for you to create shapes. So what I actually did was I went to PowerPoint and I went to insert. I took a shape, circle, drew my circle. Now I wanted it to be a true circle, so I made it 1.5 and 1.5. And then I took my shape fill, and let's say I wanted yellow to be my first color. You can choose to not have an outline on it, or if you can have an outline if you want. You can also change the thickness of that outline. Maybe you want it to be a dashed outline. You can change all of those kinds of things there for how you want your dot to look. Now what I'm going to do is click on it, and I'm going to Control C or right click copy, either way. We're going to come back over here and we're going to paste it. There's my yellow dot that I'm going to use. And I'm going to resize it. And I'm going to put it in the general area. Now I want to get a blue dot. So I'm going to go back over to PowerPoint. I'm going to just use the same dot, but I'm going to turn it blue, copy it, paste it. Remember, Control C is copy, Control V is paste. Now this isn't going to be the exact same size as the yellow one. We'll get there in just a minute. Come back over here. I'm going to choose one more color, so I might do green for this one. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Okay, now I have my three dots. You'll see they're different sizes though. I like the size of this yellow one, so I'm going to come over here on the right hand side after I've clicked on the yellow dot, and I'm going to click on size and rotate. Let's see, it says 62 by 59. I want those to be the same. So I'm going to say 62 by 62. Oops, didn't mean to hit enter. 62 by 62. Over here I'm going to change the same thing. 62 by 62. And over here, 62 by 62. Now we're going to align these to each other in just a moment, but the first thing I'm going to do is label the text so I know how far apart these need to be. So I'm going to bring a text down here, and I'm going to put acute. You can change your fonts here. If you're somebody who uses your own fonts, like I have a lot of AG fonts, you can actually upload your own AG fonts here, or your own purchased fonts, whatever they are here, which is a really nice feature that they have. Then you can just change the size, how big you want it. That's probably a little bit too big. Okay, so there's acute. Now I can just duplicate this, so when I'm clicked on it, sometimes Control C and Control V don't work really well within this program, so I come over here and just hit duplicate. And then I'm going to drag it over here. I'm going to move this a little bit. Again, we're going to align those in just a moment. I'll put right. Then I'm going to duplicate again. And over here I'm going to put obtuse. Okay. Now I kind of had it spread out where I want, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here on the green dot. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to click the blue and the yellow. So I'm holding down Shift and I'm clicking blue and the yellow to select all of them. Then down here I'm going to click on Align, and I want to align them horizontally. So I'm going to click Horizontal, and there you saw it moved the yellow and blue up just a little bit to line up with that green one. So now they are all in line. Now I might add a text here, and I might say drag the dots to label each angle. You have to highlight your text in order to change the size, and it doesn't tell you what size it's currently at, so sometimes I have to just like play around until I figure that out. And then depending on the font you use, it might make it a little bit smaller, so you may want to go a little bit bigger. All right, drag the dots to label each angle. Now is when we actually start using right here this drag and drop option, which I showed you on how this worked. And on this one that's done, you'll see how it has those blue lines. It's designating the correct answers. So we're going to do that to this slide. So I'm going to start over here on acute, and I'm going to click on this circle. When I look at my shape, I have an acute angle here in the bottom left and an acute angle here in the bottom right. First thing we need to do is make this shape draggable, because right now it's not. So we're going to click over here on Draggable. It's going to put that little symbol there with a little hand and a little finger, and that tells you that shape is draggable. So when the kids are on this card, they will be able to move that. They're not going to be able to move anything that's not listed or labeled as a draggable item. Now what we're going to do is we have to make these drop zones. Okay, so I'm actually going to use a text box. This is how I make my drop zones. I'm going to erase the text. I'm going to make the box bigger, and I'm actually going to just drag it right here where I'm wanting the students to drop their items that they're dragging. Now I'm going to hit duplicate, and I'm going to label this one. Notice how it's clear. I didn't make an outline on that box. That's what it automatically does. You can make an outline on text boxes, and I'll show that in another video, but I don't want these to be seen. All right, now you can tell that they are all there. So I'm holding down Shift and I'm clicking on my 4 text boxes that I want to be drop zones. And up here next to Draggable, I'm clicking drop zone, and they're going to put a little flag there. Okay, so that's where the kids are going to be dropping their items. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little hand and I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to mark where I want it. Now you can see for some reason today, my mouse, you'll see, is kind of right underneath the word acute, but then the little hand is over to the right. For some reason today, they're not lining up, so you just kind of have to watch that. So it's saying that the student needs to drag it to one of those. I'm not dragging it to these top 2 because what you're doing is you're marking which ones are correct. Okay, but you want to mark both of them because you don't know which one the student is going to drag that dot to. Now, there's only 1 dot there. Okay, we have to make more dots. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click duplicate. It's going to duplicate it. It's going to make it a draggable item. However, if I move it out here, you're going to see there's not any blue dots. I'm sorry, blue lines. Okay, it does not copy that feature. So I'm going to again have to drag and match so that it knows that that can go to either of those. Then we have to line it up with this circle over here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to click on this circle first because this is where I want it to align to. So you want to click on the item that you want it to align with first. So I click there, hold down Shift and click this one. And then I'm going to click Align Left and Align Top. And then it's going to align it with that one. So now I have 2, but you want more than 2 because they may want to label this as acute. If they're not sure, they might label it as acute. And if they label that one as acute first, and then they label this one as acute, they don't have any more to label that one. So there are 4 things to label here, so I'm going to do 5 dots. In case they were to label all 4 of these acute, there's still a dot there. I don't want those dots to just disappear after they've used them. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to duplicate. I like to move it out here. It's just a little bit easier to see. I'm going to drag it to the 2 dots that it can go to. And it didn't quite hit that left one, so I'm going to do that again. Remember, I'm going to click over here first because this is the one I'm aligning to. Then I'm going to hit Shift and click on the one that I just created. I'm going to align left and top. Okay, now here's another one. I might have copied it twice. We're going to drag it, label it, click over here first, shift, and click on the one we want to align, left, top. Okay, I think I just did 4, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm going to do one more. If I already did 5 and this is the 6th one, it's okay. Remember, I'm going to click here first, shift, click here, align left. Oops, it didn't work. I don't think I had it clicked. Oh, it did work, but for some reason it copied another one. So I'm just going to delete that one. Okay. Now we're going to move over to the right angle. There are not any right angles here. So I don't need to do anything to this one other than make it draggable and make copies of it. I want at least 5 because the students may drag it and label these as right angles, but we're not having to create these blue lines and these connections because none of those are right angles, so none of them would be correct. But I am going to, oops, I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to click on this left one first, shift, click, and align. And I'm just going to do this until I have 5 of them. Sometimes you'll get an error message up here. I get it a lot. I just hit X out. It's never actually caused any problems when I'm making one of these. Sometimes it just, I find that if I start going kind of fast, it says that, like it's a little bit too much for it. But again, just click out of it and keep going and it will work. Okay, I have 3 of them. So I'm going to put a 4th one. Okay, I copied it twice, so I'm going to align left and top, and this is actually my 5th one, left and top. All right, now we're going to do obtuse. Obtuse is going to be just like acute, except we're dragging to these drop zones up here. So I'm going to make it draggable, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drag it there, I'm going to copy it, I'm just going to do the exact same thing that I did, and then it's going to be done. And I always suggest that you preview and you try it first because you want to make sure you actually have enough of the dots. So here's an acute, so I'm going to drag it. You'll see when you go over here, it's going to kind of highlight their drop zone. See how it turns like a little purple square? It's going to highlight it. So now I can label these as acute. Let's say they decided to label all of them as acute. It's still going to be yellow there, which is what I want, so I kept that like that. Okay. They can label them as right, and they're still going to be those right ones. But if I submit, it's going to tell me those 2 are wrong. It's going to say these are correct. They were green there, and they stayed. These ones went back. And once I made the obtuse one, see how I didn't copy that yet? There's only 1. There's no more there, so it's blank. That's why you always want to make sure you have enough for the kids to use. And that's it. So that is the drag and drop feature that you can use on boom cards.